here we go. Let's join everybody together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruling spirit of the universe, who sanctifies us with mitzvot and gives us the spiritual opportunity to engage in words of Torah. Thank you. And thank you, Carol. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. We're going to do a little bit of this one text, and we're going to look at a second text for the rest of our time together. But here is our text. And Carol, is there a way you can make that kind of take that away on the right? Okay, if you can do that, that'd be great. So this week's Torah portion is called Tetzaveh, and it comes from the first major word of the Torah portion, which is Va'ata Tetzaveh. Literally, it means, and you will command the children of Israel. So we're actually just going to read these two verses from chapter 27. And if we have someone who would like to volunteer to read by any chance, Jane, you got it first.
Okay. From the top?
Yes, just those two verses.
Okay. You shall further instruct the Israelites to bring you clear oil of beaten olives for lighting, for kindling lamps regularly. Aaron and his sons shall set them up in the tent of meeting, outside the curtain which is over the ark of the pact, to burn from evening to morning before the Eternal. It shall be a dew from the Israelites for all time, throughout all the ages.
Nicely done. Thank you, Jane. So I want to just look at the translation for a moment, because it's not quite what the words mean are not exactly the translation that's provided here. So va'ata, and you, titzaveh, you are commanded you will command, et b'nei Yisrael, the children of Israel, v'yichlu elecha, that you will take. Then it generally pretty accurate, but it's not quite. It doesn't give the same import when it says "you shall further instruct," because it says it's a double imperative. You will command the children of Israel. So my question to you is, you all know what this is about, right? Anybody? What? Howard? Yeah, it's right above me. You can't really see it, but it's the eternal light. So it talks about ner tamid. If you look here, where is it? Right here. This word right here. See my cursor? Ner tamid. It is from this phrase that we have the tradition of putting a ner tamid over the ark. Okay, so what's it all about? Anybody know any of the history of this? Anybody willing to share? Not one person. This has never happened in the history of Torah study. Okay, Elaine, welcome. You get a start.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom. I'm thinking it's like how through the desert God is guiding by I wanted by light too, but with by day and by night, there's a sign from God to lead the people
There's a
of
pillar
Israel.
a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. That's what you're referring to?
Yeah. So maybe that's what that is, because it's fire for one thing, and it would be there. But I do have a question, if I may. I thought it was always lit, and this just seems to be lit at night. The ner tamid.
Well, you've hit on an important element that we're going to discuss in 1 second. So hold on to that. Anybody else know any of the history of this? Okay, so I can't pull it up right now, but you all know, kind of get in your head a picture of the tabernacle, and there was an outside courtyard, and then there was an inside area, and then inside that inside area was the tent, and inside that tent it was divided in half, and one half had the Holy of Holies, which contained the Ark of the Covenant, and inside the Ark of the Covenant were what? Anyone? The tablets, right? Both the broken tablets and the whole tablets. So that's what was in the Ark of the Covenant. Okay. And then there was this menorah, okay, the 7-branch menorah that was outside of it, keeping light on the Holy of Holies and other accoutrements that were there. Okay. So it says that in addition to that, maybe there is to be another light, or maybe it's the 7-branch menorah. It's not real clear from here as to what it is, but it says you shall take this. When it says clear oil of beaten olives, it is basically saying use really good stuff. Okay, use the best stuff that you have. Why? What? But A, it burns longer, but B, okay, B, it's brighter. One more. What?
God.
Oh, excellent. It's for God. Good. C, it's for God. If you're going to do it right, right? Okay, what else?
It's cleaner.
Cleaner. Keep going. One more. All those things are true. It won't go out as easily. Bad oil can sometimes not stay lit. Okay, and so it's just you want to do everything that you can to make sure this thing works, right? But then you have this term ner tamid. Tamid does mean eternal in one sense, but in the other sense it means constant, meaning regular, which is the translation that's here. Okay? And the reason why it means regular here is because the second verse is pretty clear. Outside the curtain, which is over the Ark of the Pact, to burn from evening to morning. Right? Once the temple is, so we have this, we're doing this in the wilderness. When we go into the land of Israel, we do this wherever the Ark is. Eventually, we get to Jerusalem, and Solomon builds the temple, and we have a permanent structure, and we have this now permanently installed. Okay, we have a microphone. Let's pass it around. It's over here. But 1 and then 2.
Jeff Berman, thank you, Rabbi. This tent's going to be moving around quite a bit over the 40 years. That means they got to set this up each time, divide up everything and turn the light. But that would also mean as you're traveling, how are you going to light it at night and let it go out in the morning? How's that going to work out?
Because they're not traveling at night.
No, but they're
I'm
going to
sorry,
travel during the day.
I'm sorry, what?
They're going to travel during the day. That means every day they got to set all this stuff up and do it all over again?
Yeah. So when they travel, we don't have a lot of information about this, Jeff, to be quite honest. And my assumption has always been that while they're traveling, they're actually not doing that stuff. Remember, they traveled for 40 years. Right. Okay. In those 40 years, they spent most of their time in few locations. And then in between, they traveled. And it was during those prolonged rests that they stayed. That's my assumption. Because otherwise, they literally, it's like the astronauts who I talk about who orbit the Earth who are Jewish. How do you pray 3 times a day, right? I mean, there could be constantly be building it. They'd never get it done if they're traveling. Okay, comment over here. Microphone over. I apologize that we only have one mic today, folks.
Ellen Taffine, what this reminds me of is Shabbos, of how you can't turn on the light after the Erev, and that in many households, you would leave the light on all night until day when the natural sun would come in. And there are many holidays that forbid turning the light, doing like Shabbos, of doing activity like that.
Well, every biblical holiday You can't do work on Shabbat, on the holiday.
And that's considered work.
Right, exactly. So it is a way of doing this. I mean, some of it's practical. It's light. You can't see in the dark, so it's a way of seeing it. But it was put, I just want to finish this, what I was saying. It was in the temple in Jerusalem. And then once the temple's destroyed in 586, and we're taken into captivity, we don't have a whole lot of information about what happens, but we historically know that that is the beginning of, kind of the synagogue-esque experience. And definitely following 70 CE, when the temple's destroyed, we know for sure what happens. And so all of the stuff that happens in the temple, in the tabernacle, gets transferred to the synagogue. And it gets transferred. Rabbi Heath talked about this last night. For those of you who are with us, the Torah scrolls are dressed like the high priest is dressed. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. They have a crown. They have a breastplate. They have a tunic. They have a belt. Many of them have fringes on it or bells on it, representing the bells that the high priest wore. Again, we're going to talk about that a little bit. But so we transfer that to the synagogue. We put the Torah in an ark. It's not by accident that we call it Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Ark, because it was symbolically the same as the Ark of the Covenant. And we don't have the scroll. We don't have the Ten Commandments, but we have the Torah scroll substituting it. And then we have the Ner Tamid. The problem is, what we have is not what it's commanded. Okay, so my question is, why do you think it got changed? Any thoughts? Okay, microphone, where's the microphone? Where's the mic? Okay, let's make sure we are always aware where the mic is. So over here, Judy, did you want to speak?
Well, could it be that, Judy Sack, could it be that people just couldn't keep the oil in there and it changed when it became more convenient to electrify it?
Okay, maybe just a practical thing. Okay, possibly. Any other thoughts? Okay, the rabbis were very concerned about this, folks. So you should be too. Okay? So, okay, Elaine, your turn. Your second comment, so make it a good one.
Okay, yeah, you could have fire in the synagogue.
What?
You could have a fire in the synagogue.
And
If you had actually live flame and it was overnight and not attended.
well, no, let's.
Well, I mean, the question is why it switched to electricity,
Oh,
or
no. Hold on. Not why. Before it was electrical, we had oil burning near Tamid, and they were lit continually. So the question is, why? Why did we go from where it says here, look where it says in the text, from evening to morning, and it goes to all 24 hours a day? Any thoughts? Okay, we have a couple mics, 1 and 2.
At the point we're talking about here, our people are nomads and they're traveling in their community.
Okay,
Or in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem.
Okay,
Actually.
possibly. Okay, back here. 3, and then Rena, you're in 4. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Steve Ruvalo. I was thinking of when you have it burning continually, it's the perpetuity of our faith. It's not an act of evening to dawn. It's really the presence of God forever and the continuation of us as a people forever. So to me, it's symbolic.
Okay, back. Microphone in the back.
Hi, Jonathan Chipman. Thinking rabbinically and worrying about fulfilling commandment, I'm thinking potentially just like diaspora holidays. They didn't know for sure evening to morning in Jerusalem or at the temple would be. And so now you're in the diaspora, and instead of accidentally getting it wrong or lighting it at the wrong time or letting it go out early. Maybe it was a concern about we need to keep it on all the time, and therefore we never make a mistake, like another fence.
Great rabbinic thinking. Rena, you're next. Rena, if you unmute yourself. Okay, maybe Rena didn't want to say anything. Ellen, I'm sorry, last comment.
Could light symbolize like spiritual awakening and knowledge, where darkness could be evil and unknown?
Nice. Great rabbinic thinking. Rena, I saw you raised your hand. You want to try it again? Okay, let's bring the mic up here.
I'm just trying to take my hand down. It just went up.
Oh, sorry, Rena. Okay, thank you.
I don't mean to bother you guys.
Sorry.
So I'm wondering if it goes back, Shelley Aber, I'm wondering if it goes back to the first thing that God creates is let there be light. And so maybe it's a symbolic reminder of creation, and that light comes before everything else.
In my ignorance, Citron. In my ignorance, I don't know where the rule came from. Is there a specific rabbi or a specific line in the Talmud that says you shall keep the light burning continuously?
That is such a great question, Harv, and I don't have the answer. I think I don't know. I've never read of anywhere where it says in the Talmud, this really means that. It just kind of morphed into it more than anything else. So I'm going to show you a couple of comments on it. Let's look at this one. Ibn Ezra, who lives in the Middle Ages, the word ner tamid, he says the meaning of tamid is just nightly. Okay, it was very clear early on. But then other rabbis suggested it need to be more often. And one of the things that they point to is, and let me go back up here, is see this word right here, titzaveh? It's such an odd use of the structure of this commandment, because normally what it says in the Bible is God speak to the children of Israel, or daber, or what's the other word? Emor. Thank you, emor. And it's rare that you have the word titzaveh. And it's even rarer to say va'ata titzaveh. So what's the rabbis focus on this? And they suggest that this is Moses himself is required to teach this to the children, to command this to the children of Israel, so that this would be continual. And when they talk about continual, the rabbis talk about two things. One, it's not just evening to morning, even though it says here, it means to be all the time. But in addition, it says, even when we no longer have a temple, if at some point the suggestion the rabbis are reading into this, remember they're reading post-destruction, that if we no longer have a temple, then that's the one thing that we still have to do regarding the temple service. So nothing else that we do in the temple service that's described do we do once the temple's destroyed, with this exception. And so the rabbis focus on this and say that's it. And because of that, it's not just evening to morning, but it's rather, like Jonathan said, thinking rabbinically, that we got to do it all the time lest we do it wrong. Now, there are actually a few synagogues that I know of that have a ner tamid that is actually oil-based. Somehow they got it through their insurance companies that they could have it. And they actually have groups who are responsible to making sure that it is continually lit. And I know of one synagogue that only lit it at night, not during the day. And they had their confirmation class every year be responsible with adult supervision to make sure that the Ner Tamid was lit from sunset until sunrise. It was a fascinating experience that they had. Harv, same comment.
Just a silly question, I think. So you need olive oil to burn.
Yes.
Do you go to the grocery store and get pure olive oil? Or did somebody actually get some olives and beat them in the synagogue?
I'm assuming that they went to the store and they got some. That's my guess. But great question. Harv, could you hand the mic back to Judy? Judy, second comment.
I want Judy Sack. Are these congregations Orthodox that you're talking about, or Reform, or
They happen to be liberal congregations.
Pardon me?
They were Reformed congregation. Yeah. Cliff, you had a comment. Did you want to say, unmute yourself? Cliff? Okay. So I'm going to go just show you these two other comments here. After God completed giving Moses the instructions, God tells him how to ensure that it would be illuminated inside, seeing that the Ark of the Covenant that the tabernacle doesn't have windows. Similar to how God proceeded when God created the universe. God creates the sun and the moon only after the earth was had already produced vegetation on the third day. Commandment mentioned here becomes effective only in Numbers 8:1. So how, therefore, do we understand our verse? God tells Moses that when the time is ripe, after the tabernacle has been constructed, the people should supply him with the appropriate kind of oil for lighting the lamps, and you are to command the children of Israel, Israel. We note that God used a different word for instructing Moses here, titzaveh, as the command would not have been carried out immediately, but only sometime in the future. That's his explanation why titzaveh. And then here we have a midrash, which I really appreciate. God does not need the light of the menorah, of the Ner Tamid, but God wants us to provide that light so that God in turn can provide a light for us in the world for the future. God wishes to demonstrate to us that those who kindle light for God deserve to have God light the way for them. I kind of like that idea. That somehow, because what is this Ner Tamid all about? It's all about putting light on the Ark of the Covenant, or in this case, the Ark of the Torah. By putting it here, we say three things. One, it points us in the direction of where we should be focused. Two, it tells the rest of the world what's important to us. And three, it allows Torah to cast a light upon us. So it does all these things symbolically, and I love this little midrash that really talks about God, it being symbolic of God providing light for the world. So, microphone over here. Then we're going to stop here.
It also seems to be that, Joanne Donsky, it seems to be that God is showing us that God is always there.
Absolutely. God is always there. Okay, so we're gonna pause here. I'm gonna stop sharing. I want to just switch directions. We're going to look at another piece of the Torah portion, because in this Torah portion, as Rabbi Heath talked about last night, we have all of the commandments about how the high priest is to be dressed. So we're going to read this, and then we're going to talk a little bit specifically about the Choshen Mishpat, okay, and the ephod. So do we have another volunteer who would read for us? Elaine, you got it.
Make sacred vestments for your brother Aaron, for dignity and adornment. Next, you shall instruct all who are skillful, whom I have endowed with the gift of skill, to make Aaron's vestments, for consecrating him to serve me as priests. These are the vestments they are to make: a breast piece, an ephod, a robe, a fringed tunic, a headdress, and a sash. They shall make those sacred vestments for your brother Aaron and his sons for priestly service to me. They therefore shall receive the gold, the blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and the fine linen. They shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen worked into designs. You shall then make cloths of goat's hair for a tent over the tabernacle. Make the cloths 11 in number. And the decorated band that is upon it shall be made like it, of one piece with it, of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen. Then take 2 lazuli stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on the one stone, and the names of the remaining 6 on the other stone in the order of their birth.
Thank you. Thank you. And now let's just, if we have another volunteer who'll read the next section. Anybody in here? Anybody else want to read? No one wants to read. Boy, okay. Joanne, go ahead.
You shall make a
Koshin.
koshin breastplate of judgment worked into a design. Make it in the style of the ephod. Make it of gold, of blue, purple, and crimson yarns, and of fine twisted linen. It shall be a square and doubled, a span in length and a span in width. Set it in mounted stones, in 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a row of carnelian, crystallite, and emerald. The second row, a turquoise, a sapphire, and an amethyst. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and a crystal. And the fourth row, a beryl, a lapis lazuli, and a jasper. They shall be framed with gold in their mountings. The stone shall correspond in number to the names of the sons of Israel, 12 corresponding to their names. They shall be engraved like seals, each with its name for the 12 tribes.
Thank you. Very, very specific instructions here. And just to give you a sense as to what we're talking about, I now have a show and tell. So this is you'll all get this when Howard sends his stuff out. When we send out the stuff next week, you can take a look at this. This is all the stuff that the Torah commands the high priest wears. I'm going to focus on this other picture, though, because it's a little bit easier to see. So the piece I want you to look at is this. Here's the ephod, okay? And the ephod has these shoulder straps here. See them? Okay? And it is these shoulder straps, and on it are these 2 stones of memorial in settings of gold that we're told about. This is the Choshen Mishpat, the breastplate of judgment. See if you see my cursor right here. Well, I'm going to explain why in a moment. So this is the breastplate of judgment. Here are 6 names. Here are 6 names. And here are 12 names. So each of the tribes of Israel is listed here. And then 6 are here and 6 are here. That's what I want to focus on. Okay? Now, why is it called Choshen Mishpat? Aha, because in the Choshen Mishpat, and you can't really see it here, somewhere around here, maybe it's this thing over here, if you see my cursor, right around here, is a little box that contains a thing called Urim and Tumim, okay? We have no idea at all what that is. Most people think that it's the equivalent of, and I don't mean to be silly about this, pickup sticks. It's like reading leaves, tea leaves, okay? You threw the sticks down or the stones or whatever it was, and you read them. And they were oracles. Those told the high priest and the children of Israel what it was that they were supposed to do. If they were to go to war, the Urim and Tumim would tell them. If they were to travel and decamp, Urim and Turim would tell them. If they were to stop someplace, the Urim and Turim would tell. That was the way that God would communicate with them through this oracle, mystical stuff called Urim and Tumim. Who carried it? The high priest. Where did he carry it? And this is what's important. Attached to the Choshen Mishpat, which contains what? No. 12 tribes, the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. So the question is, what is this Choshen Mishpat and the ephod? Why do we have these here? What's it all about? Rashi says it's because it says Lizichro no. So I'm sorry, Lizichro, for a memorial or remembrance. So that the holy and what Rashi says, it's for a remembrance that the God will see the names of the tribes written before God, and God will remember the righteous. Meaning that as God is communicating with the high priest, and when does the high priest communicate with God? Yom Kippur. And what is he doing? He is seeking forgiveness for the people. So he's dressed up in all his regalia. He's in the Holy of Holies. He is in front of the Ark of the Covenant, and he is praying for the forgiveness of the people. And Rashi says God has the high priest wear these names so that when God is judging the people, God will take mercy on the people because God will remember who these people are, that these are God's children. Okay? A bit troubling in a lot of different ways, but also it's powerful that God wants to be remembered of the righteousness of the people, even as they do bad. And that's not so unlike us. If any of us have had a wayward child at times, we struggle, or a wayward sibling or wayward friend, we struggle at times to remember the goodness that was a part of them at one point. Well, this is God's way of trying to be reminded of that. Let's look at the whole thing about what are these garments. Malbim, who is an interesting character, he lives in the 19th century. He's from Russia. He hated reform. So I love to quote him. Okay, he hated reform. So he says, "Behold, the garment that God commanded us to wear were ostensibly outer garments, such as their makeup is discussed, how the craftsmen were make their work. But they really are meant to indicate inner clothes that the priests of God should make, to clothe their souls with thoughts and traits and proper tendencies, which are the clothes of the soul. And the craftsmen did not make those garments, but God commanded Moses that he should make those sacred garments, meaning to teach them how to refine their souls and traits in such a way that they will wear majesty and splendor upon their internal souls." So Malbim is suggesting that this is merely symbolic of something the high priests need to do, which is they need to carry within them certain traits and qualities in order to be the leader of the people. Okay? So what are the traits and qualities that the high priest needs to carry? Okay, let's look. This is from Talmud. Why was the passage in the Torah that discusses offering, this is from Leviticus, juxtaposed to the passage that discusses priestly vestments? It's to tell us that just as offerings affect atonement, so too priestly vestments effect atonement. Let's go to the Torah, forget this. Let's go to, where are we? The breastplate of the high priest. See it, everybody? Breastplate of the high priest atones for improper judgments, as it's stated, and you shall make a breastplate of judgment. The ephod of the high priest atones for idol worship, as is stated, and without ephod or teraphim, meaning that when there is no ephod, the sin of teraphim, i.e., idol worship, is found. Therefore, it may be inferred that if there is an ephod, there is no sin of idol worship. The point being that each of these elements of the clothing is going to take care of one of the negative attributes of humanity. But specifically, the two that I want to focus on are Hoshen and Ephod. Ephod is about idol worship, and Hoshen is about improper judgment. What is on the Hoshen Mishpat and what is on the Ephod? The names of the tribes of Israel. What do you think the relationship is between improper judgment and idol worship and looking and having the names on your body? Can they come up with an idea? Okay, microphone back here, please. Steve has one second. And then Jane, you'll be next. And yeah.
What I was thinking of, just looking at this adornment, is almost like a sense of idol worship. You look at the way they're dressed. I mean, they're dressed to represent, in my opinion, God on earth. And these adornments, the 12 tribes of Israel, to me, it could almost be misconstrued as some sense of idol worship, the making of what God created. I don't know. I always find this when we have no idols, we have no images of anything. But yeah, this is pretty ostentatious. So
Okay.
it looks pretty idol worship to me.
Can you focus on the question though? Why do you think what's the relationship between having the 12 tribes listed here and the rabbi saying that this one prevents idol worship and this one prevents improper judgment?
I don't know. It may be a matter of the mind, the brain, or the heart, or something. They could be in conflict, somewhat in conflict, but I'm not sure exactly how to answer that.
So pass the microphone over here to Natalie. Natalie, hold on a second. Jane, Naomi, and Sandy, you're first.
I'm thinking that by having the specific names of the tribe, it kind of makes them more specifically accountable, not just, saying everybody or all the people, but you, and you, accountability. And the other thing I was wondering why, since the Torah usually has a breastplate on it, why the breastplate doesn't have the names of the tribes, at least, if not the jewels, but at least the names of the tribes.
So interestingly, Jane, our Torah scrolls, we don't have breastplates because we have beautifully decorated Torah scrolls, and for some reason or another, we have no silver on it. I don't know the history of it. Somebody may know that. But most synagogues have breastplates, and most of them have the names of the tribes on them. So they do have it.
Oh.
But nobody has the Urim and Tumim. Naomi, you're next.
Yeah, I was looking at some of my notes from other lessons, like from years before, and I suddenly saw that about the judgment, judgment of the Urim and Tumim, and Urim can be Arurim, the one who are doing the bad things, and the Tumim is the good, Tom Lev or Arur Lev, so maybe it comes from there. And you were talking about the connection to positive or negative of humanity. So the Urim, it's the Arurim, and the Tumim are the pure. So maybe it comes from that.
Thank you, Naomi. Sandy, you're next.
I had a question before my comment. So when the 10 of the tribes disappeared, was that already after the temple was built, or was it before?
After.
Okay, because I wondered about why they would have all 12 when 10 were lost. But I liked what the idea of the heart on one side, etc. But my thought was, if you really, I didn't like the explanation so much because it's supposed to remind you, to do good, whatever. But I think to me that would say, oh, I would rather have a tattoo of that, so I would constantly see it, not have this where I would take on and off my body if the purpose is to remind me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, we got this commandment though, but can't.
I know, but that's,
The problem.
I don't like the idea that this is, supposed to remind you by wearing fancy clothes.
Okay, thank you. Natalie's first. We'll just go back in order, okay?
I hope I'm actually answering the question you asked. Okay. In Slow Torah, Albert and I had this portion, and I took on the breastplate and choosing the stones and putting the names and so on. And when I was doing that, I was thinking, what if the president of the United States had to wear a breastplate with a flag of each of our states hanging from his shoulders? And I thought that it the weight of the decisions are about all of the tribes, or in my imagination, the states, that you have to constant reminder, the weight is on your shoulders to do something fair, because their names are right there in front, on your heart and from your shoulders.
Thank you. Let's pass it back. Thank you.
As a way,
Introduce yourself.
is a way to remind people not to worship idols. They aren't idols that's on their shoulders. It's just names, and maybe that's the best you can do. It's only names, and they're not images of the people. They're not animals, and they aren't idols. That's the only thing I can think of.
Behind you.
Daniel Sales. Or if we're still talking about the ephod and the breastplate and how they relate to those specific sins or issues. To me, I would say, if we're looking at it, and it's obviously going to be a symbolism thing, is the breastplate protects the heart, the seat of judgment. So you are warding off bad judgment because you can be protected from outside influences, among other things. So you have the breastplate itself to provide that safety of what you have on the inside that makes you as basically the high priest in this sense, and the wisdom of God that has been granted to you. So there's that. The ephod is the shoulder pieces against idol worship. To me, it's you need your shoulders to build something. To build an idol, you have to be able to move your arms, and the ephod provide the symbolic weight to keep those arms from creating something like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for answering the question. We're going to take two more, 1 and 2.
Lisa Rashberger. Maybe the shoulder pieces, the idol worship, when you worship an idol, you bow down to it, and your shoulders move, and maybe that was some connection.
Okay, let's bring the mic over here.
Linda Liebes.
It's on.
It's even on?
Yeah.
Okay. This reminds me of the prayers where we say, you shall speak these words or think of these words when you are walking on the street, when you are lying down, when you are rising up, etc. And thinking about the tefillin, and you're binding things around you, it personalizes it. It means it's you that has to think about these things. I think that's why it's so complicated, because they're just trying to make the words real.
I love this. So you guys are great. So I'm going to show you some stuff here. I love this. So Ibn Ezra says that another scholar says that the emerald is a diamond. This stone has the ability to break up all the other stones and bore through bdellium. Also, amethyst is to be identified with a dream stone. This is a stone that always induces dream in the person who wears it. One should not be surprised that every stone has specific power, placed on it by nature. That there's stone that attracts iron, blah, 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 blah. The point being that Ibn Ezra is suggesting that by carrying these stones, which have the names on it, the high priest carries superpowers within him. And where do those superpowers come from? Where do they come? They come from the people, which is, Natalie, what you were saying about having the president carry flags, right, with each of the 50 states. The reason why what Ibn Ezra is suggesting is the reason why the high priest is carrying this stuff is he ends up with powers that emanate in the end from the people. Okay, and that's the theme that I want to look at. Zohar, which comes from the 12th, 13th century, but is attributed to the 2nd century, has this line in it that Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel upon his heart as a memorial before God continually. In all of this, the number 12 is of recondite significance. There are 12 stones of supernal order in the upper world, concealed in a profound and holy mystery. These form the essence of Torah, proceeding from a small, still voice as said elsewhere. There is an order of another 12 hidden in a lower world, after the pattern of the former, which proceeds from the different voice, designating stone as hidden in the word, from thence from the shepherd, the stone of Israel. All of which doesn't make a lot of sense, but here's what basically Zohar is suggesting. That all this is a hidden meaning, that the stones represent two things. One is the outside world, and the other is the still small voice within. And where does the still small voice within come from? That comes from the people, is what the Zohar is suggesting. And then Ber Mayim Chaim from the 17th, 18th century says, by carrying him on his shoulders and not somewhere else, teach this image that Aaron had to carry the Israelites on his shoulders, like a person who gives his child a ride on his shoulders to protect him, to save him from all harm from wild animals, from stumbling upon stones or potholes. Aaron was like the heart of the people. For this reason, he carried their judgments on his heart, had to carry them to protect them, to save them. It's known from the pain of any one of the limbs is felt first in the heart. Similarly, Aaron would feel the pain of Israel first, where he would ask for mercy, forgiveness, and the sweetness of judgment on their behalf and bless them with the priestly blessing. I love this passage because basically what Chaim's, my friend Chaim, is saying here is that what Aaron, and now this goes back to what you were saying, what Aaron is required to do is to carry every single person on his shoulders and every single person in his heart. Think about what it would be if our leaders did that. Okay? And I mean all of our leaders, not just our legislative leaders. What if our rabbis, our cantors, our educators, the best teachers that we've ever known are ones who knew us and who taught us based on what we needed. Okay? They carried us on their shoulders. They carried us in their hearts. That's what it means to be a leader. I mean, this makes sense to me. Because otherwise, Steve, to go back to what you were saying, the whole thing of this stuff that they have to wear, it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is not who we are. But to say you got to carry the people here and you got to carry the people here, that makes a lot of sense. Microphone in the back, Jeff, and then Dahlia.
Jeff Berman, a quick comment. I still don't think you need that symbolism. Every rabbi and every priest really should know this without having to be reminded all the time.
Trust me, it's not quite that easy, but okay. Pass it over to Dahlia, and then I'll make the last couple of comments.
Thank you very much. The whole enchilada, the whole details of the whole clothing of the Kohen and his sons and the Levites, all of it go under. These are the uniform that the person that hold the office need to wear when he performed this holy task of communicating between above and the people. So we talked a lot about the fact that the breastplate have the name of the tribes, so the office holder will remember it. But let's not forget that those uniforms reflect to the people. And I'm thinking that when the people look at the Kohen, they don't see a person of authority. They don't see a person of God. They see a reflection of themselves.
Nice.
He represents them. So there is a two-way street here. Everything that we said so far about how it impacts the Kohen is still standing, but we have to take in account also how the other people who look at him will respond to the fact that this high priest is holding their name and they can see it. Anyway, we
Daya,
can go, but
Yesher Koach. I love that. Thank you. Real quick, folks, couple things. Look at this last line here. The holy work of the high priest involved carrying a lot of other people's messes. That part of the job was to carry their messes. And that's also a part of lifting people on shoulders. I'm going to let you read this later on about Shlomo Riskin and Rachel Barenblatt. They had some great lines. I just want to end with this quick piece of a speech that Reuven Rivlin said in 2015 that has to do with how we have to hold our people as leaders. And you have to hold everybody. So just listen to this. Ladies and gentlemen, the new Israeli order is not an apocalyptic prophecy. It's the reality. A reality that can really be seen in the composition of the first grade classes in the Israeli education system. In the 90s, Israeli society comprised a clear and firm majority with minority groups alongside of it. A large secular Zionist majority, and beside it 3 minority groups, a national religious minority, an Arab minority, and a Haredi minority. Although this pattern remains frozen in the minds of such of the Israeli public, in the press and political system, all the while that reality has totally changed. Today, the first grade classes are composed of about 38% secular Jews, 15% national religious, and 25% Arabs, and 25% Haredim. While it's true that numbers and definition are dynamic, neither identities nor birth rates remain static over time. But one thing is clear. The demographic processes that are restructuring or redesigning the shape of Israeli society have in fact created a new Israeli order, a reality in which there is no longer a clear majority nor clear minority, a reality in which Israeli society is comprised of 4 population sectors or 4 principal tribes, essentially different from each other and growing closer in size. Whether we like it or not, the makeup of the stakeholders of Israeli society is changing before our eyes. The point being that all of those, as different as they are, have to be held in the heart of the high priest. Folks, shall we rise as able for our Kaddish de Rabbanan? Let the glory of God be extolled. Let God's great name be hallowed in the world whose creation God willed. May God's sovereignty soon prevail in our own day, our own lives, and the life of all Israel. And let us say amen. Let God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Let the name of the Holy One of blessing be glorified, exalted, and honored, though God is beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter. And let us say amen. God of heaven and earth, grant abundant peace to our people and their leaders, to our teachers and their disciples, and to all engaged in the study of Torah here and everywhere. Let there be for them and for us all grace, love, and compassion, a joyful life, sustenance, and the hope of your sovereignty. And let us say amen. For us, for all Israel, and for all humanity, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, let peace descend on us and all Israel and all the world. And let us say amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone.